John, how do you compare your time with Booz Allen as compared to your time with a small business that you work? What was the difference?
Booz Allen is so decentralized. It really depends on who is in charge of whatever contract you're in. Like your interaction with the headquarters. When I got hired, it was during 2020, during the George Floyd riots and all that stuff. And they did reach down, and we had these bag lunches, and we had this stuff, and I appreciated their social outreach, but your day-to-day was so decentralized. You needed to interact with just your section, right? Trying to bounce over and maybe go to another location. If you're not sitting in Vienna, DC, or some of those larger Booz locations, you're not going to know enough people around it, right? If I never made it to a large Booz Allen conference to meet other Boozes. I went to local things and met Boozers, but it was during the pandemic too, right? So everything was decentralized. People weren't getting together.
So what do you mean decentralized?
So, Booz Allen has their lines of business, right? The government line of business, civilian line of business, intelligence, you name it. And you go down your line of business and you're at a location, there's a regional coordinator there, or a senior principal. That person's administratively in charge of the Booz Allen folks that are in there. They may not work directly, but administratively they belong to them for like pay issues and HR and that kind of thing. So working at that type of large organization, you can be lost in the sauce, right?
Gotcha. So you had a good experience, but you felt that you were a little bit isolated. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's not a lot. I was there for about 18 months. There's not enough outreach. I had outreach via my freshman class that we all came in together and we sat down for a week and we were all in the class, and I made those connections. But outside of my local organization and my freshman class, I didn't really make any more Booz connections, right? Not enough ability to laterally move.
Gotcha. Okay, how do you compare that with the small business experience? Did you like it better?
The small business experience, they put me in a leadership position right away. Right?
Okay, you loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I got to interact with the Marines, and I got to train pure civilians to speak Marines. It was definitely a more leadership type of role. That first role, retiring, it wasn't specifically a junior role, but it was just like one step above junior role. It helped me learn and integrate into being a contractor, but the adjustment was I retired and I kind of went back almost in the same unit that I was in. And so that's hard to really break away and understand, are you the contractor or are you here to support the Marines? So for me, it was, I'm here to support the Marines. The same that happened with Aero Alliance. I'm here to support the Marines, even though at certain points with Aero Alliance, they almost considered me like a GS employee just because I knew some of them, my experience with them. So it's for a transitioning vet. A lot of them say I don't want to go back. But if you don't have any choice, if the way the job market is, especially in tech, I'm not talking about blue collar things. The blue collar things, yes, you need an RN or you need your CDL or you need your journeyman electrician or, you need to have OSHA 50, whatever to work at a factory. You know what I mean? You got to have a press certification or something like that. And in my opinion, because the way the tech has ebbed and flowed, more people may go back to the more blue collar type roles. Am I seeing it per se? No, but just there's tech ebbs and flows where, you can be a CDL person for 20 years and have almost the same salary as some of the tech. You know what I mean?
What are your thoughts on recruiting cleared people?
You have to understand the process, right? I have a lot of kind of, folks that are new, that are in tech, that are, support me or partner with me to go after cleared space. But you have to understand, right? Like an NSA clearance is an NSA clearance, right? FBI, you may be able to convert. DoD hosts the largest amount of clearances that are in there, but Homeland also has their own clearance program. And for example, when I left the DoD, one of my first opportunities was being a contractor with HHS. It took Homeland 9 months plus to even really start adjudicating me. And I had to tell that other firm, I can't wait this long. I have to find another job, right? And I started back when I was still on active duty, hoping it was going to convert by the time I retired, but I couldn't, I I had to move on. I finally got an offer with Booz, but that's because I used my DOD clearance. But recruiting cleared folks is understanding their clearances, right? There's secret, top secret, SCI, CI poly, and then full poly scope. Each one has a different requirement for your level of security, right? Google, Twitter, AWS, you may not require secret clearance, but, there are certain aspects of those large tech companies that have clearances, but you still have to understand what it takes for someone to get a clearance is they need to be sponsored, whoever the sponsoring agency is. You name the 7,000 agencies across the United States. One of them has to pick up the phone, call the director of intelligence and security, and to pay for that line number. They have to pay for that. It costs money to host a security clearance, right? It's not for free, right? Everyone at the CIA, yes, they have a salary, but someone else is also paying for to maintain their security clearance. It's similar to any general after 2-star in the military. Congress has to appoint the 3- and 4-star generals, and you have to remain in that position to retire in that position once you are eligible for retirement. It's the same. There's a paycheck. There is a line number, accounting number attached to that 3-star general, 4-star general. There's a line number, accounting number attached to any level of security, from public trust to confidential, all the way to TSSCI full poly scope. So folks, what I tell folks who are trying to get into the government, want a security clearance, is find a company that already has a cleared contract, right? But you go in and as a junior role, or you go in as an admin role, and you be there for a little bit, and then you convert over into a secret role. That's the only way. Well, for a civilian, that's one of the ways you're going to get in to get a clearance, right? You got to get into a role that requires a clearance and someone sponsors you. So you want to work for the VA, you're doing secret stuff, you apply, they do the background, put you in that role, you have a clearance, and you can move that clearance around. DOD, I know there's been a little bit of shakeup since I retired with giving everyone just carte blanche security clearances because they need to know, we had that kid a couple years ago up in the Army Reserve or Air Force Reserve who leaked a bunch of information. He wasn't supposed to have access to this information, but he still leaked the information because he was playing around on SIPR systems, SIPR being the classified network. There's the NIPR network, the non-classified, and the SIPR is secret and above classified network. So he's playing around on there, and he leaked documentation that he didn't have a need to know. Right. So that's one of the biggest things about understanding cleared folks is understanding the clearance requirements and all of the rules and regulations that go into.
So as a recruiter, how do you find these? If a company comes to you, how do you manage to find these people?
Through the systems I have and through my networks, right? So NSA, for example, I've been supporting a contractor with National Security Agency for about 6 months. They're one of the hardest to find because NSA folks have to already have NSA clearances. Me sourcing someone in the DOD that has an active TS or TS or SCI, they just have to meet the requirements of that role. So if it's a tech role and they need C++ and Sec Plus and, some other cyber things, and I match them up and go, yeah, you're a good fit, or no, you're not a good fit, you're a better fit for this. But for NSA, I have to know what contract they're on because I just ran into this. I pulled somebody and they were on another contract that his prime, Khaki, was supporting. I couldn't use him. So it's a very small, very, very small niche community, especially for NSA. Now, you talk DOD, DHS, and the larger other agencies, not as big of an issue. It's more just I understand what a CCA means, across continuation authorization, right? To authorize someone to go move from one agency to another agency. I understand timelines it takes to move, a candidate from this agency to another agency. It could take up to 6 months. It could take up to 12 months. I understand there's going to be a more extensive background check with NSA. So for clients that are looking for a cleared specialist like myself, I understand all of it, right? Let's have some expectation management. Some of these I may be able to pull out right away just because of my pipeline. Others, we have to develop expectation management between me and that client so I understand what you're really looking for, right? I could give you the full clearance person, but if you tell me you want 15 years of software engineering, well, that's a different story, right? It's a lot of expectation management when meeting with clients to find the right personnel. They have an ideal person in their head. Johnny did this. Johnny's no longer there. Johnny was a go-getter, right? You may not ever find a Johnny, but it's good enough to do the job.
Super interesting. Yeah, I can imagine the pressure that you have sometimes.